Good morning. And welcome to the Mainline Unitarian Church. I am Dr. Tracy Simpson, a member of your Board of Trustees. It's so good to be with you here this morning. It's very cold outside, but it's warm in here. And whether you're here in person or joining us online, welcome. I'm also delighted to welcome any visitors today. Please join us after the service for coffee and conversation in the fireside room so we can get to know you. Welcome to the Promised Land. You may ask, what is that? Often interpreted as our beloved community, the Promised Land. Maybe it's more than just a world. Maybe it's just a state of inner transformation. Here we emphasize the journey and the hard work required to build a better future. It is not a distant future heaven, but a reality we create in our current community. We come together in love to build the Promised Land through active daily effort and our work for justice, to support one another as we seek spiritual growth, connection, and more fulfilled lives. The Promised Land is inclusive. It requires centering voices that have previously been marginalized. And it requires courage. It requires enduring through difficult transitions. So whoever you are, wherever you've been, and whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are warmly, joyfully welcomed here. Be sure to check out the back of today's order of service or online to learn about our upcoming activities. Leading today's service, please welcome our Senior Minister, Reverend John Morehouse, our Director of Learning and Family Ministries, Dawn Starr, Sarahs-Borchelt, our Music Director, David Brown, and our pianist, Jodie Brown, as our Worship Associate, Mr. Paul Costa, and our very own MLUC Choir. Woo! And a special thanks to our esteemed media team. Please join me now in affirming our mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
Good morning, everyone. Our choir has had quite the week. Many of you know that we, on Friday, collaborated with 4 other UU congregations from the southeastern Pennsylvania area to perform Fauré's Requiem, which is a massive piece of music for choir, orchestra, organ. There were over 100 singers who all came together. And as you can see this morning, we have actually a slightly reduced choir. I think folks are like, yeah, we sang with 100 people. We're good, we've done it. Of course, I'm kidding. This is we are going to slightly reconfigure what you see in your order of service this morning for a couple of reasons. So first of all, my beloved wife, Kaitlyn, who is here with us, is recovering from a vocal injury. So we're swapping places as we have done before. She's going to be our conductor. I am going to be singing and playing the soprano solo on the violin. Let me rephrase that. I am singing, and playing the soprano solo on the violin. I'm not singing soprano, I assure you. And my mom will be swapping the organ for the piano during the Sanctus movement, because I don't make her life complicated quite enough. We're going to begin with the Agnus Dei movement. I've reconfigured some of the movements of the otherwise very large Fauré Requiem to craft something of an optimistic narrative to fit this morning's sermon theme, because this Requiem itself is actually a very optimistic piece, which is not something you think about when you imagine a Requiem. You'll be pleasantly surprised by Fauré's ethereal, beautiful, and again, optimistic take on the unknown.
Our chalice lighting this morning is Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 116, I'm on my way.
So you don't get to see this when you're looking at the words up on the screen, but if you take one of your hymnals out, and I think is it 112? What's the number? 116. If you look at 116, at the very bottom of the page in very little type, it says Ethelred. And all the hymns, the tunes for the hymns have a specific name, and a lot of them are really old names, like from, medieval times and slightly later. But Ethelred is a lot more recent. And I bet you don't know who Ethelred is. Most of you. Maybe a few of you know who Ethelred is. But so this morning's story is about Ethelred. One morning, more than 100 years ago, on the island of Jamaica. Can we have Jamaica? Because when I tell stories like this, my kids are all like, where's Jamaica? So that is where Jamaica is. The little heart is Jamaica. And the red lozenge thing that says Mainline Unitarian Church is us. So 100 years ago, on the island of Jamaica, a boy named Ethelred Brown went to church. Usually at this church, the people sang their creed, their list of things that they believed. But that morning was Easter Sunday, so instead of singing the creed, the pastor said one line of it and the people would repeat it back. And Ethelred listened closely. The minister said things like, "We believe the Father is God, the Son is God, and the Holy Spirit is God, but they are not three gods, they are one God." Ethelred loved math, and this sounded confusing. He thought, how can 3 be 1? That doesn't make sense to me. So right there in church, he realized he didn't believe what everybody else around him believed. He was going to have to find his own way. Later that day at his uncle's house, so somebody around him believed something a little different, he saw a little booklet on the table that said, "The Lord our God is one God." And that made sense to him. The booklet was written by a Unitarian minister named William Ellery Channing. Ethelred read more and more and decided, I am a Unitarian. But there were no Unitarian churches in Jamaica. So once again, he knew he would have to find his own way. So he grew up and he became an accountant, because math, and got married and had 4 children. But when he was 32, he felt a calling in his heart. He wanted to become a Unitarian minister and start a church. He didn't know a single other Unitarian. I'm wondering about that uncle, but I don't know. But still, he didn't let that stop him. He wrote a letter to any Unitarian minister in New York City. Eventually, someone wrote back and said he had to attend school in the United States. And this part makes me mad, because that is not the answer. I mean, maybe that's true, but maybe you should offer some help along with that. There was a lot of gatekeeping, and in a bad way. But because he didn't have much money and he'd never left Jamaica, but he didn't let that stop him either. He asked people for help and he saved money and he said goodbye to his family and he got on a boat. But the first time he arrived in the US, they sent him right back because his papers weren't right. Sounds familiar, yeah. But that didn't stop him. He fixed everything in his paperwork and he tried again. And finally, 3 years later, he made it to school. He became the first Black person ever to become a Unitarian minister. But the world wasn't fair then, like we already kind of noticed, and in some ways very much like how it isn't fair now. So a lot of people told him he could only serve in a Black church, except there were no Black Unitarian churches. This is like a chicken and the egg problem. Did that stop Ethelred? No. He found a way. So he went back to Jamaica and started a Unitarian church himself. And after 8 years, he came back to New York City and started a new church in Harlem. It wasn't easy. Money was tight. Some people were unkind, and he worked extra jobs. His family had hard times too, but he kept going. And he ended up building a community that lasted for 35 years and helped hundreds of people find a spiritual home. Can we have the picture of Ethelred? Forgot I had a picture of Ethelred. That's Ethelred. A handsome man. So that's who the song is named after. I'm on my way, because that's how he lived, always finding a way forward. I'd like to invite the children and youth to join me in the atrium where I will sort folks out. I just want to point out to everybody that our entire OWL 4th and 5th grade class is already upstairs and their parents are already in the McGinnis room. So we got a lot more people here this morning than you are seeing. We will see you at coffee hour.
This month's offering outreach partner is Upper Merion Area Community Cupboard. We are joined today by Angela Michael, who will tell us more about their important work. Angela?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here today. It is an honor to be with you all and to be able to share about the incredible community that makes the Upper Merion Area Community Cupboard work possible. So who we are, I'll have to click this. I'm not tech savvy. Okay, good. All right. So who are we? I don't know if you've ever heard who we are. We are a community pantry and resource center that serves the Upper Merion Area School District. How we started, teachers began to see that there were children coming to school that were hungry. And when you see children that are coming to school and not having food, it began to rattle the community leaders within the school district. So some of the board and some pastors and community leaders came together and said, what can we do to help these families so that these children are not coming to school hungry? They came together and decided to build a food pantry in King of Prussia. At our core, we exist to make sure that no one goes hungry, because why would anybody be going hungry in our country right now? It just doesn't make sense. And knowing this, it was important that they put a plan together to make sure that not just the children, but that the families in the area didn't go hungry as well. We believe access to food should always come together with dignity, choice, and respect. So what is our mission? Our mission is powerful and it's simple: to provide nutritious food and essential resources while creating a welcoming, choice-based experience for every neighbor who walks in our doors. And really, it isn't just about food. It's about dignity. It's about stability. It's about hope and community. I don't know if any of you have ever had to go to a food pantry before, but it takes a lot to get up, to go to a place, and to ask for food. And most people don't want to go. They don't know what to expect. But what we do is each week, we serve about 150 families a week that come through our pantry. We're open on Tuesdays from 9:30 to 11:30 and from 5 to 7. We did that so that the people that work could still come and get food, and those that don't work can come early and get the same type of food. And what makes us so unique is that we've created an actual shopping experience. Our pantry is set up like a supermarket. As I mentioned, I don't know if any of you have ever had to go to a pantry before, but most of them, you drive up, they give you a box of food, and they pretty much tell you to keep it moving. Or you walk inside, they give you a pre-packed box of food. But what we've done is we've created an actual supermarket. It has shopping carts. It has racks. We have tablecloths, because why not make it a place of dignity? Why not create a place where people don't feel embarrassed to come? Why not make it so that it is nice, like Wegmans and Whole Foods? Whole Foods is a nice market. You go there, it's set up very nice. So that's what we've done. And our type of pantry is called a full choice pantry. So that means that the families can come and pick and choose what they eat, what they like. Upper Merion has over 64 different languages in the school district. I believe that it's 83, but I keep it low because I'm not sure and I don't like to give the wrong information. But we try to make sure that we have kosher foods, that we have halal foods, that we have gluten-free foods, because everyone should be able to pick and choose what they want for their families. Why should I give you a box of lima beans and you don't like lima beans? So we support families to come in. We have fresh produce, we have dairy, we have protein, we have pantry staples and personal items. I don't know if you've ever heard about Share or Feel Abundant, but we are the Feel Abundant hub. So this means you don't have to come and get a can of corn. You can come and get fresh vegetables. You can get fresh produce. You can get fresh everything. You can get milk, eggs, and cheese, just like we would when we go to the market. Recently, because of our community and because of donations, we've become a resource center as well. Because I don't know how many families are here, but do you know how much it costs to buy a book bag for a child to go back to school? It's anywhere from $80 to $100. And some families that may have 4 children, so we give out book bags now. We provide coats. We provide staples, toiletry kits, and things like that. So we've become an actual pantry and a resource center. So who do we serve? We serve people that look just like you, that look just like me, your neighbors, your friends, your members, families, working families, seniors on fixed incomes, parents that have to choose between paying rent and buying food. And food insecurity doesn't look like what people expect. King of Prussia has the second largest mall in the United States, right? And it looks like money. It looks like who here would be without food? But King of Prussia has a mass food, and they call it hidden insecurity, because people would never expect that people who live there, that live in those big houses, are actually struggling to get food each and every week. And the challenge is not uncommon when you have higher living areas that people have to now decide, do I pay my rent or do I buy food for my family? I'll just share my testimony very quickly. I was a office manager at a Salesforce company. I was a human resource director, the DEI director, going to work every day. I've worked all my life. I may not look like I'm 58, but I am. And I came in one Friday, and my bosses called me on Zoom, because it's virtual, and they said, we're closing the office because no one is coming in. This was after COVID. No one was coming to the office. So now I'm faced without a job on a Friday, December the 4th. The holidays are coming. So one, I apply for food stamps. I don't get them because I've worked all my life and I'm not eligible to get SNAP, food stamps, or any of those things that you see on TV. They said I made too much money, but I'm without a job now. So what do I do? So people like me, people like you, are those that come into the pantry to get food. We have people that come in that are crying. We have people that are coming that are embarrassed. But we've created this space to welcome people to come and get what you need. So our impact, and I'm probably 487 families we serve a year. We serve 1,700 individuals. That is a great number. That is a large number. That is a number that you would not think is going on in King of Prussia, Upper Merion. And all of this is made possible because of volunteers, because of donators. We're a nonprofit 501c3. We don't have streams of money and income that come into us. We have to go out and get everything that we need so that we can make sure that our families can have food just like you. But behind every number is a story. And as you know, things are very, very tough right now. The government shut down last year. They cut SNAP. Unemployment is high. Everything is going high. So with those raising numbers, it makes it tough for us. But because of the support from the community, because of the support from businesses and things like that, we're able to keep our doors open. And as you know, it hasn't been easy. It's been very hard. There were days that I went home last year wondering, am I going to have enough food to feed our families? Will we have enough milk? There were times when we couldn't give milk and give eggs. However, we survived. When Hurricane Ida came and destroyed the area, we were still there. When Bridgeport was underwater last year, we were still there. We were still standing. But the only reason that we stood is because of community. The only reason we're still there is because of donations and businesses and people like you and me that will give and help the pantry and help our families to be able to survive. So how can you help? Be a part of this great work. One, you can volunteer. And where's Sally? She told me to make sure that I mention volunteer. Sally's one of our great volunteers. We always need volunteers at UMAC. If you have some time, go on our website, umacc.org, go on the volunteer tab. We could always use your help because we can't do it alone. That's what community is. We stand by our neighbors. We stand by our families. Two, you can host a food drive. We're always looking for people to come together and get the things that we need. You can support us financially, and then you can also help spread the word as well, because every role matters. Everything that you do, every time you share something about us, it matters. So I'll close with this. UMAC is more than a pantry. It's a reflection of what's possible when a community comes together. When we come together, we're stronger. When we were trying to figure out what we were going to do last year, the community stepped up, and we have more than enough. We have so much food right now that we're able to help other pantries in our area. However, the government has partially shut down. They now have more cuts to SNAP coming. Now seniors that are 64 have to go and work 20 hours a week just to have food. Food should not be a choice. Food, everybody should be able to have food. So I thank you for allowing me to come. I thank you for allowing me to share. It is because of you that community is enough. It is because of you that we are able to stand through the storms that we've come through and through the storms that are coming, because we know that the storms are coming. So thank you so very much for allowing me to share at this time.
UMAC's work aligns with our UU values of love, justice, equity, and interdependence. If you would like to make a donation online, follow the instructions that you see on the screen behind me. If you are in the sanctuary, you can also scan the QR code that is on the order of service to make a cashless donation. The offering will now be gratefully received. Candles of Community is MLUC's ritual of personal sharing and support in a trusted and safe environment. After each candle is lit, please join me in saying, We hold you in our hearts. Molly lights a candle of remembrance. She reminds us all that mourning the loss of a lifelong companion can gradually dull with time. But as a holiday like Valentine's Day draws near, the void can suddenly seem acute again. She asks that we please pay attention to the widows and widowers you know, and consider how you might warm their aching hearts. For all who may be suffering the loss of a loved one, we hold you in our hearts. Kathy Landy lights a candle of celebration in honor of her husband Mert's 90th birthday. They celebrated with a small family gathering, and Mert was feeling healthy and happy. For Mert, happy birthday, and we hold you in our hearts. Barbara Welsh lights a candle of joy. Even though MLUC's planned protest was canceled because of the brutal weather yesterday, Barbara and Pat Jordan joined a small group on Saturday morning at the Bryn Mawr branch of Citizens Bank to protest the bank's financing of ICE detention centers. Because of the wind, they were almost blown over at times. They were cheered on with more than 60 honks, while three drivers shouted mean words and one offered a rude gesture. For Barbara and Pat's intrepid spirits and joyful commitment to social justice, we hold you in our hearts. Craig and Linda Farr light a candle of sorrow for Craig's brother Brent, who passed away recently in the Philippines. For Craig and Linda, we hold you in our hearts. David Brown is delighted to wish his mom, our inimitable MLUC pianist, a happy 70th birthday tomorrow. Although she is somewhat disturbed by the number and far too humble to desire attention for merely achieving her 70th year alive, we celebrate Jodie for all of the lives she has improved in her 70 years. David guarantees that every person in this room, including him, forgets how empty our hymns actually sound as written in the hymnal because Jodie has spent the past 2.5 years spicing them up with her unparalleled improvisational skills. From classical chamber music to jazz rock fusion, Jodie has graced our community with musical vitality and consummate creativity. Could anyone imagine an MLUC service without her piano playing? For Jodie, happy early birthday, and we hold you in our hearts. And for all of those joys and concerns that are being held, some too deep for words, we light a candle, and we hold you in our hearts. Today's reflective reading is an excerpt from Disturbing the Peace by Václav Havel. He was a Czech playwright, essayist, and dissident who would go on to become one of the most influential 20th century thinkers in Europe. Disturbing the Peace has been described as a kind of confessional autobiography. He wrote, "The kind of hope I often think about, especially in situations that are particularly hopeless, such as prison, I understand above all as a state of mind, not a state of the world. Either we have hope within us or we don't. Hope is not prognostication, it is an orientation of the spirit, an orientation of the heart. It transcends the world that is immediately experienced and is anchored somewhere beyond its horizons. I feel that its deepest roots are in the transcendental, just as the roots of human responsibility are. Though, of course, I can't, unlike Christians, for instance, say anything about the transcendental. Hope in this deep and powerful sense is not the same as joy that things are going well, or willingness to invest in enterprises that are obviously headed for early success, but rather an ability to work for something because it is good, not just because it stands a chance to succeed. The more unpromising the situation in which we demonstrate hope, the deeper that hope is. Hope is not the same thing as optimism. It is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense, regardless of how it turns out. In short, I think that the deepest and most critical form of hope, the only one that can keep us above water and urge us to good works, and the only true source of the breathtaking dimension of the human spirit and its efforts, is something we get, as it were, from elsewhere. It is also this hope, above all, that gives us the strength to live and continually to try new things, even in conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do, here and now. Blessed be.
Jodie, thank you. David, thank you. Choir, thank you. You don't realize, but they went to Philadelphia not once but twice last week downtown. They went on Thursday night for the dress rehearsal, and then they went on Friday night and joined those 100 voices in a full orchestra with David playing first violin, I should say. It was an absolutely fantastic evening, and I really want to applaud the music ministry here now. We had a little celebration for Jodie last night. You'll see that in the fireside room there. Balloons, and we decided to light the fire. Seems like the right time, right? Yeah. I want to begin with a little bit of Bible exegesis for you here. I don't do it very often, but I thought today made some sense. This is the story of Jacob. Jacob, the son of Isaac. Isaac, the son of Abraham. If you're following your biblical narrative there, Abraham was the one who was going to sacrifice Isaac, and his hand was stayed by God, by an angel at the last minute. So Isaac had a little bit of trauma in his life, and he marries, and he has a couple of sons. Well, his wife has a couple of sons, Esau and Jacob. They're twins, actually. Esau comes out first, and Jacob is holding on to his heel. And that was the story, as it is so often in biblical narratives, of the second son wanting to be something more than the first. It should be familiar in many families, I think, too, whether it's brothers or sisters. Esau was the one who was going to inherit his father's tribe, his father's livestock. His inheritance was going to be given to him. And Esau was known as a big, hairy, kind of brutish guy. And Jacob was wily and smooth, and he was mama's favorite. And Jacob decides he's going to steal the inheritance from his brother. So he dresses up in a goat skin. And he goes and tries to get his voice really deep like this and say, "Father, I need my inheritance now." And he goes, and the father says, "I can't see you," because Isaac had gone blind. "I can't see you, but let me feel you." And he feels the goat skin. He goes, "Oh, yeah, that's my son Esau. Sure. I'm going to give you my inheritance. Here, take it with you, and you can start your new family now." And Jacob takes the money, and he runs. And he leaves. He leaves the promised land, and he goes to see his mother's brother, his Uncle Laban. And Uncle Laban has a pretty large tribe of his own, and he has two daughters, Leah, who's the oldest one, who was considered to be somewhat homely, whatever that means, and Rachel, who is the most beautiful. And Jacob wants to marry Rachel, and Laban says, "Well, yeah, okay, 7 years hard labor with me." So that's what he does, 7 years. And then at the very end of the 7 years, he thinks he's marrying Rachel, but they're all wearing veils. And he goes to the marriage bed that night, and it's Leah instead. And Laban says, "Well, I don't know how you do things where you come from, but here we always let the first daughter get married first." And he goes, "Well, you tricked me. I wanted to marry Rachel." I don't know how Leah feels about all this. This is all messed up, man. It's the Bible for you. And Rachel, he goes, "Well, I want Rachel." Okay, Laban says 7 more years. So now 14 years, and now he's got 2 wives, he's got 12 kids. He's got all this livestock, he's become quite wealthy, and he decides the time has come for him to return home. Now his father was dead. He knew his father, Isaac, had died, and so he sent message to his twin brother Esau, and he said, "I'm coming back." And he didn't really get an answer. So he says, "Well, I'm going to go anyway." And so they all migrate, and they get to this river. And Jacob says, "I'm going to send the rest of the gang over the river, and I've got to stay back here. I've got to get my head straight for this, because my brother could kill me. I don't know what's going to happen." So he falls asleep. And he actually falls asleep. He has 2 dreams, but this is the dream that I want to talk about, is when the angel starts to wrestle with him in the middle of the night. And they're wrestling, and they're evenly matched. And he asks for the angel's name, and the angel won't give it to him. And instead, he gives him a hard blow to his hip. And he dislocates his hip. And now Jacob's got the angel in a headlock. And he says, "I'm not going to let you go until you bless me." And the angel says, "Okay. You've been called Jacob, which means to grasp." For all the Jacobs in the world, that's what it means, to grasp. "From now on, you will be known as Israel, for you have striven with God." That wrestling with the angel, that famous scene in the Bible, then changes Jacob. He's been this passive player, sometimes a little more wily. Drama of his destiny, he was going to overcome. He was a mama's boy. He was a trickster. He was worried now about his older brother. He was ignored by his father. He was tricked by his father-in-law. And he's trapped then in this darkness of the soul, and he wants to somehow make amends with the only remaining family he has, which is Esau. And so with this self-reliance, he's going to do the right thing, and now he's ready to go. He's ready to cross the river. But he's asking himself as he's doing this, is this really where I want to go? Do I really want to go back to the land that's really promised? Where am I migrating to? Or am I really just here to reconcile with my brother Esau? And in the very outward and literal sense, Jacob was returning to his homeland, but he was also returning to his destiny and returning to his guilt. If we look further into the story, and I think there's a lot here, we can see that traveling to the promised land is also about reconciliation. It's about love. It's about making right what is wrong. But his promised land would not be possible until he completed this most important task, and the task that we all have to complete, which is the promise of our own integrity. And I've been thinking about integrity a lot these days as we've watched on the frozen streets of Minneapolis people fighting back against ICE agents. I've been thinking of people, children in Denison, Texas, who are sitting there without their parents in a detention camp, in a concentration camp. I've been thinking about people who have been spirited away just even here in King of Prussia. It's happening now all around us, and I'm thinking about the integrity that we as good-meaning people must keep in our hearts in order to face this kind of injustice. Wrestling with the angels is a powerful symbol in mythology. It refers to a celestial force, yes, but it also refers, more importantly, to the force, the divine within us. Prevailing through the night as he did, Jacob was given this new name and a renewed identity. And he would use that identity to ask for forgiveness from his brother. He would do all he could to make this physical dislocation of his hip a reminder of the spiritual dislocation of his soul, which he was trying to put back into place. So where is our promised land, right, folks? In this winter of our desperation, as the masked federales, the true embodiment of their name, ICE agents, drag old men and women and children through the icy streets of our cities into unmarked cars, while we in outrage hold these phones up as if they were candles in the wind, shouting for justice, right? We, the massive we of this country, the massive exhausted majority of this country, crying in this moral dislocation of the very joints of our civility, we are raising our voices and we say, where is our promised land? Do you hear me? David Brooks, who was once considered the scribe of conservatives, who now seems quite liberal, how far we have come. He wrote a closing piece in the New York Times. He's leaving his position there, and he said, large majorities say our country is in decline, that experts are not to be trusted, that the elites care nothing about regular people, that only 13% of young adults think America's heading in the right direction, and 69% of us think there is no longer such a thing as the American dream. Loss of faith produces a belief in nothing. Trump is nihilism personified, with his assumption that morality is for suckers, that life is about power and force and bullying and cruelty. Global populists seek to create a world which only the ruthless can thrive in, and America has become the rabid wolf of nations. It's tempting to say that Trump corrupted America, but the shredding of the values from the top was preceded by a decades-long collapse of values from within. 4 decades of hyper-individualism expanded individual choice, but weakened the bonds between people. And multiple generations of students and parents fled from the humanities and the liberal arts, driven by belief that the prime purpose of education was to make money. Brooks said that we're abandoning our humanistic core. I'm not sure I agree totally with him there, but I do understand what he's saying when he says the elements of civilization that lift spirit and nurture empathy and orient the soul are playing a diminished role in America today. And the grievous cultural wound that has been the loss of our shared moral order is at the hip of our lives. We are told that multiple generations need to come up with their own values, building your own theology, anyone? That the privatization of morality has burdened people with a task that they can simply not know what to do. That we have had that happen to us. I have been talking to you in these weeks, some of you saying, I do not know what to do. There's no broad agreement about what is true and beautiful and good. And without those standards, it's very difficult for us to imagine a trusting world. But beloveds, the good news is this: all is not lost. I do not believe it is lost. I have to believe, and this is more than optimism. As Havel said, this is really about hope. It's possible to reach the land of promise beyond what is so cold and barren now. Do you hear me here? It will require protest and voting and action and the things we're starting to do. And, Pat Jordan, Barbara Welsh being out there in the cold, getting blown over by the wind, bless you. Bless you for standing there. As Frances said to me when they called off the protest, she's like, how can they call off a protest? And I thought, well, they can, because there's going to be more protests, right? And there will be more protests, because protests are what we have right now. We have to take to the streets because it's the only thing that we can do. But as Jacob found in his struggle, and what we are finding now, I believe, is that we need to reinvent the moral culture in which we live. Not a culture of theater and opera, but the culture of decency and beauty and love, which is embodied in our lives and our families and this church. And I mean everything that shapes the spirit of this age, the moral, the intellectual movement, all that constitutes the shared water in which we swim. We can do this, friends. We can do this, and we can do it right here. This can be the place where we begin a new moral ecology. Amen. This building, right here, right now, or outside of this building, right here, right now. We are the promised land. That's the news. We are the promised land. An old friend called me last week. He said a former parishioner of mine had died quite suddenly with what his family thought was the common cold. He was 45 years old. I'd been his minister in sunnier times, in a world where love seemed easier to find and give. He had been so active in that church, helping those who needed help. He built ramps for people who needed to get into their homes. He fixed a roof. He collected food. He started a food festival in the shared bounty of the oyster beds of Connecticut's Long Island Sound. It became a nationally known food fair called Oyster Fest. Nationally recognized, raising millions of dollars in a weekend to feed hungry people. I remember him being so frustrated with the church, because churches move at a glacial speed. It takes a long time for us to make a decision. But he didn't wait. He moved forward, and we kind of bumped along. His life was full of promise and I love it, overcommitment. And he painted large, impossible canvases like this one from George Miller. This isn't his, but something like that. He embodied the promised land, but it could have been any of us. Can you hear me on this? It's important. We who hear spread love. We who hear help a friend. We who hear do the right thing sometimes even when we're being taken advantage of. And are we the ones to spread the love? I can't quite hear you, but are we the ones to help those in need? Are we the ones who are going to stand in the cold and hold up our cameras to the abuses of our government? Are we or are we not? And are we brave enough, friends, to be the place of resistance through joy itself, through music and joy that rises above indignation? And are we ready to build that new land, and can we start right here? Yes. The promise starts here, friends. It starts with our doubts, it starts with our judgments, it starts with our fears, it starts even with our prejudices. And every great leader in the world has wrestled with their angels. Mother Teresa, Mohammed in his encounter with Gabriel, the Buddha in the temptation of Mira, the god of death, Jesus and the devil, promising him world power. And each prophet has had to find a way to become their better selves. We all have these struggles, and we all have to overcome them because the world out there needs us now more than ever. Prophet telling is not so much the future as it is telling the truth. For someone like Martin Luther King Jr., who had plenty of struggles to overcome, the Promised Land was not just about his people, but about himself. He was aware of his shortcomings. Let's not say he wasn't. He knew about his anger. He knew about his infidelity. He knew about his impatience. He was aware of how important this was to not let those shortcomings stop his work. And Taylor Branch, in his last and most sentient book, At Canaan's Edge, talks about this moment towards the end of his life, when he was struggling with these failings, when his marriage was in real trouble, how he fought inside of himself to be the prophet that he still knew he could be. I close with this. The night before Dr. King was murdered, he gave a speech at a rally in support of sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. Here he is addressing a group of garbage men and their families about rights and dignity. And as with a premonition, he said at the end of his speech, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned with that now. I want to do God's will. And he allowed me to go up to the mountain, he said, and I looked it over, and I've seen the Promised Land, he said, and I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the Promised Land. How do we prevail? How do we overcome the shortcomings? We do this with love in our hearts, friends. We have to do it with love in our hearts. I heard the other day that heaven may be only 18 inches away. The difference from your heart to your mind. Maybe that's all it is. That we need to understand that we have a deeper calling. No matter where we are in life, no matter even if we're comfortable, go sit by the fire, warm up, get yourself something nice to drink, but let's get out into the world. Because our hearts are beating in the right direction now. You can hear it in our music. You can hear it in the justice work we're doing. You can hear it in how we take care of one another. When Jacob crossed over into his homeland, he sent word to his brother Esau that he was coming, and now he was really full of trepidation. He was all by himself. What was his brother going to do? And he could see in the distance that there was Esau, big and hairy as ever, and a bunch of other people behind him. They were all running towards Jacob. He's like, uh-oh. He didn't know what was coming. But as Esau drew closer, Jacob could see the most remarkable thing. He had his arms out. He was running to hug his brother. As they embraced, Jacob realized that his worst fears were within him, that his brother had moved beyond the struggles of the past and was overjoyed to welcome him home to the Promised Land, perhaps to this Promised Land. May our journey in the year before us bring us closer to home than ever before, starting with our own beating hearts, that we open again to the transcendence of love. So may it be, and amen. My colleague and friend Rebecca Savage says, "We have blessed each other with word and song, embraced the greater truth of our resilience, that what was terrifying is still possible within our hearts, that we come together and remember who we are and whose we are. The living tradition, love fiercely, we serve mightily where we journey humbly with the Spirit of life. And may we depart in peace and strength for those days ahead. May this resilience cascade, cascade, and cascade again until we come home." Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, "We'll Build a Land," number 121. Friends, it's really important to belt out the chorus on this one, okay? It's really important. It's a great song. Let's sing it.